Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Contributor Experience Weekly Meeting, Zoom edition. I will be your host, Allison, and just a general housekeeping here. We abide by the CNCF Code of Conduct, so just in short, be excellent to each other. And I think everyone on the line's familiar, so I think, do we need to do intros or no? So with that, let's dive right into the list, the agenda. So do we have any updates for office hours or?
I don't have any updates.
Mm.
I think we can just strike that one.
Strike that one off the list. Community meeting. So Laura's posted some updates here. So first time reminder email going out tomorrow for the community meeting topic submissions. Paris suggested some changes for the agenda to ensure folks see the change. Need to do that before a reminder email goes out, and still needed.
When's the meeting next week?
So the community meeting?
Yeah.
It's the third Wednesday or Thursday of April. So
okay,
we have
so
a
we
couple
got a
more
ways.
weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
That actually might be a good thing to do the Slack bot, mass spam message again.
So I think that tidies everything up for events. Is there any questions folks have about the community meeting that we should note down? I'm gonna take the silence as a no. Next up.
If somebody has the time, it would be useful to have somebody from ContribEx go through about a week before the community meeting, go through possibly with the help of SIG architecture and figure out which KEPs are really active and make sure those end up on the agenda.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
I mean, if our goal is to have more development discussion, which I think it was.
Anything else to add? Okay, so now we have our mentoring topic. So meet our contributors. Do we have Paris on the line? No, but it is slated for next week, isn't it? Yeah. So meet our contributors is slated for next week. I have put my hand up in the form of an informal Slack message to say, yes, I can stream this. So I probably will go do a test stream with the Kubernetes YouTube sometime. Bob, if you could help me out with that, that'd be cool. Yeah. So next up, we have Playground, GSOC Outreach, LFX Mentorship, Ehor. Any updates?
Yeah, no major updates. So LFX mentoring is running. So no major news. We'll have a next round of evaluations in the next few weeks. So everything is smooth there. With Google Summer of Code, we've joined the period when students have to apply. So if there are any potential students at this meeting who want to participate in Google Summer of Code this year, so it's your time. Please check out the proposed topics under the CNCF mentoring repo. Figure out which one you'd like to work on, and go ahead and apply to Google Summer of Code website. Other than that, no major news from me.
Oh, thank you very much, Ehor. So next we have the new contributor workshop. So the last meeting for that was on the 29th. Josh, do you have any updates?
I don't know when we last updated this meeting. We're switching to more of a focus on written content. And Bob has set up a new spot in the contributor website for that. Because we think written content has a better chance of getting done and being more maintainable. And are busy trying to reassign the individual chapters within that based on who can produce that. I have not been able to sync up with the New Zealand folks anytime lately, so I don't know what's going on with build and test. Related to this, I'd like to go ahead and kill off the late edition of the mentoring meeting, or at least reschedule it to maybe sometime that Nikita is available, because the current time slot does not seem to be working for anybody. Next step would be I would ping Nikita and the New Zealand folks and see if we can come up with a mutually agreeable time, or their decision that they don't really need a meeting.
Potentially filling that in, that slot in with a Slack style meeting as well for like just a weekly in between sync up. Yeah. So yeah. I think that covers everything for mentoring.
I actually one other update on the new contributor workshop and some of the stuff regarding the written content. Started some conversations with Priyanka at the CNCF, and we might get some support in terms of making whatever the written content would be into a course. So like converted to slides or something like that. We'll see what happens, but the conversation has been started.
Awesome. Any questions around any of the stuff we've covered so far? Moving on. So another note here is we're looking for folks to help with Code 2040 and other partnerships that will help us with diversity, specifically that back up our Black Lives Matter statements and our values. So that's from Barris. Ideally training on Kubernetes. It's important that folks, is that the same note? Ideally, yeah. Training
So
on Kubernetes.
I can comment. This is actually like whatever we do decide to do with the new contributor workshop, make more written content. This sort of goes back to making it into a course that people can take. So it can still be something people can do in that sort of environment in a workshop style thing. But that is a secondary priority to us just getting, the content down and getting it there. But yes, we are, this has also been talked at the steering level to, further our, outreach towards, Code 2040 and a few other groups to target more underrepresented groups.
Any questions, anybody? Right. Next up, we have community management. So the need to know chairs and team leads email. Bob, do you know the status on this one, or do we need to get together and check this?
I don't think there's any big updates there yet. We only have one item on there, and that's we all have access to the Zoom live transcribe although it's kind of janky to turn it on. And the live transcribe is essentially closed captioning, live closed captioning. So anyone that is potentially, it's an accessibility ad. I know all the SIG leads are also just trying to scramble and finish the annual reports.
Yeah, it's heads down annual reports time, I guess. I guess that covers us for the need to know, chairs and team leads. APAC coordinator, we don't need to worry about that. I believe the meeting has been removed from the calendar, and the initiative syncing up with them asynchronously from now on. I'm not 100% sure on that. Dev stats.
Yep. So, sorry about that. All the dashboards, well, not all, just about all the dashboards are getting updated so we can get more accurate stats in terms of, like, we'll be able to get per repo breakdown and per SIG or working group based off label. One of the big problems in the past has been repo groups like don't map well to a lot of our SIGs that work primarily out of, so repo groups group multiple repos together as one unit. But we have a bunch of SIGs that literally work just collectively out of Kubernetes. And so there's no way for them to sort of measure or see what their work is when just using repo groups. So this breakdown should help them, as well as sub-project owners that do actually just look at specific repos for things.
Wait, I missed something. Are we talking about repo groups in DevStats or somewhere else?
DevStats, yes.
Because the DevStats repo groups do include subdirectories of KK.
That is not accurate in any way, shape, or form now. That is that is a problem.
Okay,
like,
well,
yeah, either way, it's going to be label based and on per repo stats for everything. So we should be okay there. It's also like the Kubernetes enhancements repo is another one.
mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, switching to labels is definitely an improvement. I'm just saying that the stats historically have included specific directories in KK.
Yeah. I don't know if that has been the case for some time.
It's still in the code.
Okay, I'll have to go back and double check.
Now, mind you, relating certain things, like you can't relate an issue to a directory, right?
Yep.
So issues in KK just end up kind of,
And
only the label report is of any use, and the counts get kind of confusing when you have a PR that hits like 15 directories.
Yep, and all the many directories have changed ownership and changed
Yes.
locations. So
yeah, if you were to say that those were not up to date, I would 100% agree with you.
Sorry, that was more or less the statement I was getting at.
Yeah. Okay, so are we not going to do directory counting at all anymore?
Repo groups still will be a thing if you want to use them. Personally, I don't think that's a sustainable way to track things if we're looking at things like KK. But I much prefer the per repo breakdown and just by label.
Mm-hmm.
And we can embed those specific dashboards in things like the contributor website, so we can basically tell our groups how to interpret the data there without having to have it just be on buried in Grafana.
All right. So I guess that covers us for DevStats. Any questions, anyone?
Really quick, Bob, we're talking about doing the Kubernetes by the numbers blog. This is another thing that could feed into that, correct? Cool. I have taken a note.
Okay. Now, if you want to talk metrics or history by the numbers, anything like that, I have spent far too long looking at stuff. We can stick at a later time.
Let's do that. Yeah, maybe a shared doc to just dump stuff into.
All right. I guess that wraps things up for dev stats. Next up, we have marketing.
Yeah, I have not been able to attend the meetings lately, so I think we just skip this one.
I have been attending the meetings.
Oh.
There's, I mean, I could say, that's all right. You know, I don't have a
Go
lot.
for it. Sorry,
I wasn't planning
just
to
didn't
report.
think.
No, that's all right. I wasn't planning to report since Matt's not here, but there's a few blogs moving forward, and the survey was kind of the big focus for a while, and we were able to get a pretty good number of responses to that. So probably that's going to be, I would predict that that's going to be one of the focuses that Matt's working on right now.
Oh,
so there's a,
speaking of the survey, we're at 136 responses. It's still open. Should I close it now?
Matt would be
so.
the person to ask that, or Bob.
Okay.
Not me.
The who's going to do data analysis on the survey? In the past, Paris got somebody from Google to do it, but she's not going to be doing that now. Bob, is that a resource we still have available, or do we need to do a new data analysis?
I would need to check internally. I don't know who was involved. However, we do have all the Jupyter Notebook scripts and everything available to at least compare the stuff that we can compare to, you know, previous years. That I think that's something I can take, but that will be a probably sometime in like a month. I need to get some other stuff off my plate.
Yeah. Okay. Somebody ping me over Slack later on, because I kind of persistently have an instance of Notebook open on my desktop. So if we already have the notebook for that, it shouldn't be too hard to run it through.
Okay, I can link it to you.
Yep.
Also, I apologize, Joel, with like just assuming that there was no update for marketing, because I completely forgot you're frequent those meetings.
Oh, thank you for the thought. It's absolutely fine.
Okay, survey is now closed.
All right. So I guess any questions, any further chats around marketing, or we go into the next item? All right, I'm going to assume that's the next item. So contributor documentation. So contributor guide. I believe you commented on this earlier, Bob.
Yep. So there was some the TLDR is the Season of Docs program has changed. It is no longer a mentoring program. You basically ask for money to hire a tech writer to work on it. They are not helping select tech writers. That is on you to do. The CNCF, when submitting, the process had changed a bit, and basically they only got to submit a single project. So out of all the CNCF projects, only one got a Season of Docs, allocation. In the future, we will basically want to submit as an individual project. And they can look at the Zach and the CNCF can help refine the proposal, but we will still need to submit it.
Do you know if there are any like limitations on like how many organizations from from the same umbrella can submit and so on? Like, just curious. So I'm not driving the Google Season of Docs directly at CNCF because we have Zach for that, but I'm just curious, what is the best strategy to move forward?
Sorry, you were cutting in and out a bit there for me. I think your question was just like what's the best path forward for Season of Docs?
in terms of umbrellas, like, you know, how CNCF is like an umbrella of a bunch of projects. And so, like, what does that look like?
I think for them, it be make sure that the maintainers know that when Season of Ducks start, and make their services available for helping refine the proposal.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
I can speak. I've been speaking to my Landsway is on the list of possible writers, so I've been learning about this. And the refocus on Google is to find good stats to figure out what victories you can create, how to measure a victory from documentation. I don't know if this is new information for the folks in this call. So that's kind of what Google's trying to farm out of this process. And so I think conceiving of what kind of a stat you have or some kind of a measure, and then working back from there to a project that would create success in that way is probably the greatest way to appeal to the curators of that. Is that helpful, Ihor?
Yeah, I was just curious, again, like it's mostly Zach who's driving this at CNCF, not me, but it's good to hear and understand how does the things work these days.
I guess the other like follow-up item, I don't know, because I think the Season of Docs is still listed under the CNCF mentoring section, and that I don't know where its placement in that would change.
What do you mean by that?
Since it is no longer technically a mentoring program.
Well, good question. We'll figure it out. We want to move it immediately because, again, like I know that Zach and Celeste are working actively in that specific area of our GitHub these days. But yeah, probably something that we may consider for the future.
It's a tomorrow problem.
The Q2 problem. So, oh yeah, Ihor, just comment on the mic thing. It's like you're talking out of like water, like you're like underwater speaking. So, might be wrong mic input. So, I think that covers Season of Docs. So next up we have a developer guide. Any updates?
More, I can say that the annual reports have actually been pushing more of the SIGs to do their audit. So hopefully here soon we will have a more complete list of the things that do actually need to be updated. And some of them have just gone ahead and just like, oh, we can take care of this. And they've, at least PR'd in the important changes. But the big thing is like we have a good set of like most of the SIGs are now are at least on it and keeping it up to date or trying to.
All right. So contributor site. Any updates?
Just really quick on that. My name and Eric's name are still on that. I don't have a mechanism of tracking that project. Bob, do you have a recommendation of how I can just keep my finger on the pulse of that? Part of the reason I'm asking is that this meeting so frequently is Allison asking you questions, Bob asking you, everybody asking Bob questions. So if there's a way that I can be a little bit more informed and answer questions instead of you, I don't know, save a few vocal cards for you.
There is a issue that's tracking at least the developer guide audit. I can find it real quick.
Cool. I'll start following that and once again, save you some voice.
No worries. I've left a little gap in the meeting notes to stick the link in. So next we have the contributor site. So
Oh, sorry, I was dropping the link in.
yep, no worries. Also, a big
the-
warm welcome to Marky, who's just
Hello,
joined us.
friends.
Like, hi. So contributor site.
So we have now added a community section that has our values, mentoring programs, and some of the other stuff there. Expect this to be expanded in the future. I should have also dropped a note regarding the dev branch for the new contributor workshop. But I can do that in a minute.
Cool beans. Any questions around the contributor site? All right, I take the silence as the next item. GitHub management. Any update?
I think this one.
Posting links. Yep. No worries.
Okay, sorry. GitHub has rolled out a beta feature that allows us to actually turn issue templates into forms. So if you click that link, you can see sort of what this looks like. You might have seen this in Brew, and a couple other repos have rolled this out. We are going to test this on the K.org repo. And then if that works there, we'll then potentially let other repos opt into it. But I could see immediate value for KK and other places, especially as there's like required fields, and they must, because you have drop downs and all the other fun stuff. So
just improves that user experience of, instead of filling in a template, you can actually click the tick boxes in the form for things, which yeah, it's going to be super awesome. Any other updates GitHub management wise? All right. I think we've wrapped things up there. So next up, there's Slack Infra. So any updates with Slack Infra?
I have a question. The moderation bot was updated. Is that correct? That was done this morning?
yes. However, the essentially not the moderation bot itself, but there's a new bot that's being rolled out that can privately respond to people on keywords. There will be a message going out to Kubernetes dev. I don't know if it's going to be today or later this week. Essentially, it will, if you happen to say guys in Slack, it will shoot you a message that only you can see, just like, hey, there, can you use like Folk or something other than guys.
I think the CNCF Slack does something very similar.
We basically use the same, like when we're speaking about the CNCF Slack, we're basically using the same strategy as we do with Kubernetes.
Okay, awesome.
Cool beans. Any other updates or questions regarding Slack? All right. I guess that leads us to the open mic and discussion. We've got two items here. Bob, take us away.
Okay. So we sent out the SIG ContribEx annual report, and this is the last day to get comments. Well, trying to this to be the last day to get comments in on it. It's already been sent out to the lists. If you can, please take a look at it. I think everything is accurate there. If not, just toss a comment and I'll try and get it addressed by the end of the day. I'll just move on. Any questions about that? Okay, so the next one is something that we've discussed a little bit in steering. And we have previously made our leads take the unconscious bias training. It's actually like the inclusive speaker training that the LF offers as a mandatory requirement to become a lead. At this point, we're thinking, if we want to try and begin to address some of the other, let's say systemic issues, but like at a community-wide level, would this be good to actually make it an org member requirement, which means before you can join one of the Kubernetes orgs, you basically have to respond and say you've taken the training?
I would argue no, because we brought an org membership to the point where we really try to make anybody who is a real person and is a semi-regular intermittent contributor into an org member. So requiring any kind of training or anything would amount to extremely restricting org membership. And keep in mind that those org members include people who are underrepresented minorities. So we might be excluding the very people that we want to help.
Have you taken that course? At least since they updated it?
Yeah, I'm not a lead, and the CNCF one for CNCF SIGs keeps getting pushed back.
It doesn't take too long, and the previous one did have some issues, but they worked with I'm totally blanking out. Essentially, they worked with a consulting group that specialized in this sort of thing to put together the deck. I don't think it'd be that much of an additional requirement to go through it. At least personally.
Again, you have to think about people who are contributing in their spare time, which is a lot of them, numerically speaking. And why do we need to make the move to immediately saying, hey, this is required and we're going to suspend your org membership if you don't take it? Why not just first start out by simply throwing it open to all org members and saying, hey, if you're an org member, you can take this. And see how many people do.
Yeah.
To be frank, like we don't have a good way of checking or enforcing it for current org members. This would be, it would be an ask of current org members, but making it essentially a requirement going forward when you fill out like the org membership template.
Yeah, I just don't want to be in a position of having somebody say, who's been contributing one doc fix a week and is now up for org membership and saying, oh, I'm sorry, you can't be an org member unless you take this training, regardless of what the training is. And particularly because, like I said, that new org member might themselves be a woman of color. And it would be like supremely a bad thing if we're actually blocking a URM from becoming an org member because we want them to take the anti-bias training.
Yeah, can we start with probably making this as a requirement for the new SIG chairs or something?
We already do.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, if you, I know that we require all the existing SIG chairs, but
no,
can it be named?
It is the requirement for all new SIG chairs to take it.
All right, so it's done. All right.
Yeah, like I said, why don't we just, if it's not a budget issue, why don't we just throw it open for all org members to take it and advertise that it's available?
It's free.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that it's free to people. The
Yeah.
and see how many people do, because what we just really want is that people who are in a position to exercise unconscious bias take the course. And we don't care about if people do it on their own. We don't need to mandate it.
Yeah, I think like org membership could say, I feel like there is a like introducing just pasting your like certificate thingy into your org membership issue thing. It could be a could be good. I'm not sure though, like the benefits like are really there, because I don't think I'm not sure if we've had any issues where like someone's become a member and then they've just actively been doing harmful stuff. And that's where I could see like having this gating on a unconscious bias thing being a whole check this person aligns with our community values once again thing. But maybe it's a potentially a better idea further down the line. Like anything that's more than a member do the training thing, because all the roles that are above member probably.
The one issue we
Well,
have, like it's
yeah.
difficult to track like people being promoted to reviewer or approver. The areas that we can sort of really see this well is when you become a lead or when you become an org member. There's just a little bit too much fluidity in the in-between levels.
Yeah, but mandating it at the level where it's easy to check is the wrong. It's horse cart inversion. If we really care about it, then we need to make it easier to check at a different level. And saying we're just going to do it at this level because that's easy for us, even though it's not the best level to do it at, is just not a good strategy.
Jot that note down.
Is it possible to just make it available to every I don't want to say every person, but every org member, not as a mandatory, and then revisit it in say 3 or 6 months to see how many people have actually taken it, and then you have a better foundation to work from to say then, well, we want to do membership level enforcement. I don't want to use the word enforcement, but then you have something to say, okay, well, we did this and we just let it be out there, as an optional, but we really need people to take this or something like that. Then you have more basis to work from. If you say 3 months, 6 months, we let people just do it on their own, and this is the traction we had, just an option.
We also have to look at what the goal is here, right? The goal is that we want an atmosphere where people's PRs don't get reviewed or not reviewed on the basis of their ethnicity or background, right? That they get reviewed or not reviewed based on the content of the PR, and not biased, right? And in order for that to happen, we don't need every single person to be aware of their unconscious bias. We just need half of them to be aware of their unconscious bias. And so it's not mandating that every single person take a training is going to be a lot of trouble, and it's going astray from the actual result that we want.
You could add a footnote to say that reviewers really should try to take this, and approvers should really try to take this, but it's open to every org level member, but really try to specify the reviewers and the approvers. By knowing that there would be no real way to track that, but just to start to say you have different data points to work from in 3 to 6 months to say, okay, well, we'd like to do it this way because this is the the test we ran to leave it open.
Could we then like potentially in like future contributor surveys like have as a question, have you done the training? And then we can kind of use that information to plan our next steps.
Yeah, using that as a data point in conjunction with the optional prior availability of the test is a great foundation to work from.
So I will say when it comes to like surveying the community, we get less than 10% of org members that respond. Like, I
On the
really
other
wish
hand-
we would get better.
On the other hand, the responses skew heavily towards the people who work on Kubernetes daily.
Yeah.
Which is, after all, the people that for something like this we care the most about.
True. Would honestly have to like look at the survey responses this time to see like what
the other thing
is.
That honestly, putting a question on the survey, not just did you take the training, but what did you think of it, is kind of a sneaky way to get more responses to the survey, because people who had opinions about the training will respond to the survey when they might not otherwise have done so.
Yep.
I think one of the reasons for this year's anemic survey response is that there simply are no controversial questions on.
Okay. So I was jotting down notes.
I'm not being quiet because I don't care about this conversation. I really appreciate the complexity of how we're looking at it, and my desire. I mean, I'm always desirous that we make a decision and move on, but I don't mind that this is something that's taking some time. It seems like everybody takes it as a win, but there's kind of a point where compelling people, maybe better than enforcing, Mark, people allows that people who would benefit more from taking it would take it, and there's something appealing about that there. But I'm tending to side with Josh. I think, I mean, nobody's taking a hard position here, but I'm tending to side with Josh that moving towards that instead of like dropping the hammer on it now is going to be better for the community, because of the possible creating obstructions for other people that we want to involve in. So.
Okay. Well, the other thing that we can, at least in terms of like, if we do want to, you know, encourage people to do it and push more when, say, someone's promoted to a reviewer or approver, we do have the bot that looks at when owners' files are changed. So that might be another avenue to at least, you know, provide signal, just like, hey, if you're a new person being added, drop a line in there about it.
Yeah, we can also put it, if once it's open to people, we can also put that in the template for requesting org membership. So not that it's required, but new org members are strongly encouraged to take this unconscious bias training, and here's the link.
Yep, and it's open to everyone right now. It's
it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you had to be on the list.
Nope.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and take it then, because my sweetie's asked about it for her nonprofit. So
Can you provide a link to that? I would like to take that as a
it's in the
approver.
notes.
I'm gonna paste it in Zoom chat as well.
Yep.
Thank you, both.
It's technically the inclusive speaker orientation from the LF. They've actually added a second course that I've not taken yet. I just noticed it like earlier this week. Inclusive open source community orientation, and that one is also free.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Would it be okay? I want to frame this the right way. I'll say it and then we can fix it if it comes out incorrectly. Would it be okay to tweet out this link? But in thinking of that, I'm wondering when we decide to make this optional, like Harris, when we decide to make this optional, would it be good to have this come from the tweet out from the Kubernetes marketing Twitter account? That would be another way to, I see a lot of traffic generated through there, and it would be a good avenue to say it's optional, and I think it's a very positive thing. Might be a good thing to do.
And yeah, I don't see why not. Like, I don't see any sort of problem with that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Just
like signal boosting it for Kubernetes contributors like the week before, like 1 week, and then a couple weeks after, like, you know, quote tweet that and have a poll, put a poll in, like, have you tried the inclusive speaker orientation? Because yeah, that might be a good idea. Yeah.
We might want to investigate the second course and see if it's more appropriate.
Yeah.
We want to promote that one instead.
And I just discovered that one earlier this week and have not had the time to actually go through it yet.
We can trial it and figure out also if we want to add as an extra requirement. I haven't tried it yet, but it's on my list for the nearest future.
Okay, I think we're coming to, you know, the general thought is to make it optional for now and just highly encourage it, and find ways of getting it at the reviewer approver level. Does that sort of summarize things?
Yeah, that summarizes it well, I think.
Okay.
That open mic discussion continues. So is there any other topics we'd like to discuss today that might have not slipped into the agenda?
Wait, quick follow-up this question, technical question on the previous.
Yeah.
Which is, if we promote the idea that every contributor should take it if they can, do we have any way to get aggregate stats out of the LF on how many of our contributors have taken it?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I'm also not sure. I can check, but probably the response will be more negative.
Okay, I was gonna say, do people have to log in to take it? To like their LF account?
Yeah.
Then technically the LF could give us that information in the aggregate.
Yeah, technically LF collects this information, but I'm not sure if LF can get this information like provided somewhere outside. So
okay.
I have to check on that point.
Okay. The yeah, possibly one of our SIG chairs or a steering committee member could send that request to the LF and stress that it's aggregate information.
Okay.
Alrighty. Shall we wrap things up here or open mic? Wrap things up here.
Welcome back, Marky.
Thank
Welcome
you so
back,
much,
Mark.
friends.
Yeah, hey, Marky.
I really appreciate this community immensely for allowing that time. It meant without tearing up. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We're so glad to have you back, Marky.
I missed you. Thank you very much.
We missed you too.
This is a
I'm
really
a-
good community. There's something really special here that
Oh. Well, we're glad you're back.
thank you very much.
And with that, I'm going to hit the stop recording button.